Hi guys, I'm Sam Fricker and I've been creating content for socials for nearly a decade now, but it's only been in the last 3 to 4 years that things have started to do really well for me. We do nearly 300 million views a month, which is crazy to think about. I wanted to give you guys 5 tips on how you can possibly improve your content. So I create mostly short form content across all platforms, and that's what really changed for me in my career was when they brought out things like TikTok. It had a whole new platform and avenue for content to perform, and everyone got an opportunity that we've never really had before because the big YouTubers that were early or the big Instagrammers that were early had that opportunity. And when short form came along and all the platforms jumped on board, it gives us an opportunity to try and get our foot in the door. Now we do long form content as well, but today we're gonna focus on the short form content. So here's 5 tips that can hopefully help you. So my first tip, number 1, of course, you gotta post the content. And for me personally, I find the more content, the better. I know it can be controversial. Some people say less is more and you gotta focus more on one video. But for my personal experience, I found the more videos I put out, the better performance I get across everything, because not every video will do 100 million. But if you post 10, you're more likely to get there. In my opinion, if you look at my stats, I've posted on YouTube 3,300 videos plus. We've got just over 3.3 million followers and have done nearly 3 billion views. And all that goes on the exact same trajectory. So I find the more content you put out, the more you'll be able to get back. And try not to be too perfect about it. Just putting things out, learning, and just going. You'd rather have something put out there and learn from it than just keep editing and not having anything go out. We'll talk some numbers. TikTok, I try to post at least 3 to 6 times a day. YouTube, we're talking, look, if I can, I'd go 10 times a day, but anywhere between 5 to 10 is typically all right. Same with Snapchat, 5 to 10 a day. And same with the Facebook, about 5 to 10 a day is good as well. And of course, when you create more content, you become more consistent because you have more things to put out. And that's the name of the game. I feel like create as much as you can, be consistent, and don't be afraid to overpost. It's always good to experiment and test out new ideas. Now, what does that look like? For me, I was filming my diving videos. I got my friend Hamish to come along, film them all on my phone, and that's how I got so many of my views and growth in those early days from iPhone diving content. It was still working. And I had one of my best friends, Minchero, who had come along and said, look, we need to shoot these professionally. You'll be able to get sharper shots. And I was like, all right, let's give it a go. I brought him in, and the first 2 times he shot for me, I didn't like them. And I was like, well, Minchero, I don't think this is gonna work. The iPhone stuff, it works, it looks nice, it does the job, it's fine. And I nearly gave up on that higher quality, better shot content, but he convinced me we'll go again, and I'm so glad he did, because now I shoot nearly all of my content professionally, 4K with my diving videos, and they've performed so much better, and I have more variety as well because he can get different angles with his lenses. It's incredible. So don't be afraid to innovate, and if something doesn't work, just keep trying, test it out, see where it can go, and don't give up too early. Luckily, I've got some good friends around me that make sure I'm pushing to make sure I'm doing everything I can. But even other things, if you're making vlogs, there's a whole section in my camera roll I call the one clip wonders. For example, the other day we were up at the cliff diving in Japan, and I made a full vlog about going up and exploring the cliff diving and what we were doing there. But then I also posted one clip of just me walking to the end and looking over, and both videos got the same amount of views, around 200,000-300,000. And both of them were different, but if you don't experiment with different parts and different things and try to post new things, you might not get that extra exposure that you could be getting. Now, if you're making videos, growth can be important, but don't get tied up in the numbers and trying to put too much pressure on yourself. For me, of a morning, I do get up and typically run what I call my morning numbers. I'll just go through and check where everything's at, but I don't get too upset about it. Similar with the hate comments. It just doesn't bother me because the way I try to think about it is I enjoy making the content, and if I want things to perform better, then I just need to think about how I can make better, more engaging, or higher quality content. So when the views do come down, I just more think, all right, like it's kind of like a challenge, like my diving, like how do I get better? How do we do this? How can we figure this out? Like what can we do to try and get back up there or hit those numbers that we're looking for? But I try not to get too down upon it and just look at it as more of a challenge and a goal and a journey of trying to figure it out. And it's good to review the views to see what's working and what's not and what you should be doing more and less of. But again, just not getting too tied up in that. And that's where it's important to have good self-worth and value outside of those numbers. Similar to, again, my diving or my socials. When you get your self-worth tied up in what you're doing instead of who you are, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because eventually you're going to lose that competition, or the views aren't going to be where you want it, and you're not going to feel great. So try not to rely on external things for your internal value. Like anything in life, if you want to be successful at it, you got to surround yourself with great people. And for me, even my videographer Timmy, just hanging out, like talking about content and what you're doing and what you're working on can be really inspiring and give you ideas. And being around people that are like-minded really help bring you into like a really good, positive like wavelength. You work together great, and it gives you new ideas and insight, and also sharing like your struggles and your failures. Because 90% of the time, I feel like when we go through something, we always think that we're alone and it's just us. But then when you talk to someone who's in the similar field, you realize that you face nearly all the same issues. And that's why like Mr. Beast always talks about those masterminds and coming together, because instead of 10 people learning something themselves, if they learnt one thing and all came together, you can learn those 10 things so much faster. Now, the last one can be really challenging, and that is try and create more than you consume. And I know that we all go to social media for inspiration and find new ideas, and try not to get too caught up, because I do find if I'm during the day scrolling, I get stuck in that loop and I find it really hard to get off, and I get so glued to the content. Even if I don't want to watch it, you know, sometimes you just get caught into all the short form content. So try to not get sucked into that. Create your content. Try find inspiration in those periods where you know it's not going to take over. Like before you go to bed, just spend, you know, maybe half an hour checking it out. I tend to make all my saves that I'm inspired by, and then next day I might review it before I go to make content. But really try not to get caught up in that loop, and then maybe have a strategy to get out of the loop. For me, it's like going with the training. It's something that I know I have to be at. I'm kept accountable. So if I'm here on my videos and I know I've got to go train, it's like, okay, I've got to go. In an ideal world, I reckon you probably want to be doing at least 75, 25. 75% is, you know, editing, voiceovers, posting, doing all that stuff. And then 25 would be, you know, scrolling, consuming. And look, like anything in life, there's no easy way. There's no shortcuts. It takes time, it takes work. Like I was posting on YouTube for 9 years. And only in the last 2 years has it done all right. Like I go back, you can see, and I'll put something up. It's like 2 views, 10 views, 15 views, like 18 views a day, like nearly nothing for 7 years. And then just in the last 2, it's jumped up to 3 billion, which is insane. And you could look at it and say that's overnight success, but no, it was 7 years of trying to figure it out, trying things and then not working. It does take a lot of work. It does take time. But like anything, if you're willing to invest and try and figure it out, then you can get there. There's no reason why you can't. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I've been able to provide you guys some value on how you can improve your short form content career. Make sure you like, subscribe, but remember, don't turn on the bell because I post way too many shorts. But they work, so I like them.